What's good, people? It's your boy Let's Do React, and welcome back to the channel. And guys, I hope y'all having a blessed day today, man. Because if you're here with me, just know that we blessed. But there's always somebody out there that would love to be in your place right now, man. I just want y'all to know that, man, before I go ahead and jump into this video. But what do we got today? We got 12 strangest things found in the swamp. But before we jump into this video, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, man. Give this video a like. You'll be helping your boy out, and at the same time, you'll be doing me a favor. So if you haven't already, like it up for your boy, man. So you got me? Appreciate it. Let's get it.
So the yuckiest of the yuckiest. Think muck, think mud, think all manner of gooiness. From smells to the insects that call them home, they can, however, be interesting places that are also quite scary. From gas explosions to the T-34 tank, here are 12 of the strangest things found in swamps. Number 12. Swamp Ghost. This one might just get you running for dear life. There's more to this specific swamp ghost than what meets the eye. This is a plane that's been nicknamed Swamp Ghost. In 1942, an American plane which was in use in a heavy offensive bomb raid of World War II, a US B-17E bomber riddled with bullets, crash-landed into a swamp in the middle of Papua New Guinea. Fortunately, all 9 crew members survived but spent weeks battling heat exhaustion and malaria just trying to get to safety. The plane, called Flying Fortress, was lost for decades. 30 years later, in 1972, Australian soldiers were flying overhead in a helicopter when they spotted something huge in a swamp. When they landed, they realized it was an almost intact plane. They thought it eerie and called it Swamp Ghost. After navigating the infested swampy area to get to the insides of the plane, they retrieved the plane, and it now stands at the Pacific Museum in Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Number 11.
See, man, that's a lot. See, the thing is that, man, it's a lot of things, man, that, that's undiscovered that we know that we really don't know about, man. So we always finding new things. They're not really actually new, but we're always finding things that, that haven't been discovered, especially like things like under the sea, under the water. We know more about space than what's really under the water, man. But that's just me just babbling, man.
The runaway slaves community. The Great Dismal Swamp doesn't look like much today. This is because development has reduced it in size and it's hardly recognizable. Let's try and paint a picture of what it used to be. The Great Dismal Swamp is about 200 square miles, with panthers, crocodiles, snakes and all manners of creatures you can think of. You can find all creatures there today still, except for the panthers. It wasn't accessible in the early times by horses. Even humans found it hard getting in there due to the thick mud and thicker clouds of insects. It's these specific conditions that made it easy for slaves who wished for freedom to make their escape. The more challenging the terrain, the safer the slaves would be. The Dismal Swamp is located in southeast Virginia and northeast Carolina. In the 1960s, the Native Americans fled the colonial frontier and took their refuge there. They were followed by fugitive slaves. From 1680 until the Civil War, communities of Africans and African Americans were also formed. Some of these communities were so well established that the children of these Africans grew up there without ever seeing white people. In 1973, the remnants of the natural swamp were declared a natural national landmark. This is what is officially known as the Dismal Swamp State Park. Number 10. The Windover Cemetery. When the road was being built across a pond and new housing development Windover Farms in 1982, road workers discovered something quite incredible: skulls. Medical examiners and the local sheriff determined that they were not from a recent burial and started investigations of what this discovery could mean. Now known as the Windover Archaeological Site, those remains marked the beginning of an amazing find. They brought to light the fact that the pond that the road was being built on had held water for many years, from between 9000 and 8000 BC. It's located about 5 miles from Cape Canary and had a layer of a pit on the bottom. This is actually where things get interesting. When the archaeologists came to find out that there were remains, they discovered the remains of 168 people at the bottom of the pond. Skeletons had been well preserved, and the researchers were able to analyze DNA from brain tissue. From that DNA, they found that the remains came from the Archaic period, and it's now one of the most important archaeological sites ever excavated. Number 9. Shipwrecks in Istanbul. Who doesn't like finding buried treasure? especially when that treasure comes from a different time than what we're accustomed to. That was the case when archaeologists started digging in a site in Istanbul known as the Anakapa in 2004. 37 shipwrecks from the visiting empire were discovered in what would have been the ancient city of Constantinople. This is dated to be in the period between the 5th and 12th centuries. The ships were in very good condition considering their age. Never has such a finding been found this well preserved in a single location. The best part was the discovery that the shipbuilding processes back then were much more complex than they are today. There was even evidence of two shipbuilding methods. The first was where the ship's shell was built first, and the second involved the ship's skeleton being built first, and then the planks were attached. 8 of the ships were examined. 6 were round ships ranging from 26 to 48 foot long, and the other ships were long ships of about 1,000 feet long. Number 8. The Fallen Soldiers. World War II claimed the lives of 70 million people, and about 26 million of these died on the Eastern Front. Did you know that about 4 million soldiers are still missing in action? And now volunteers are trying to find them so they can have a decent...
Wow. 4 million soldiers, man, unaccounted for? Man, see, that tells you, man, like I said earlier, man, it's a lot of things that goes on, a lot of things that we don't, that's undiscovered, and it's a lot that we're still learning, every day, man, we're learning, we're finding new things, not really new things, because, according to the word, ain't nothing new under the sun, but, man, oh, man, we live in a world, man, they say it's a small world, but it's not really that small, man, because if it was, we wouldn't be having all this trouble that we're having now, man.
Decent burial. Olga Osheka is one volunteer that was interviewed in 2014. She walks along with pine trees with a metal detector and finds some of the soldiers buried in a few layers of moss and leaves. She says they're still lying where they fell, waiting for a chance to go back home. Olga is part of a group called Exploration and visits a forest near St. Petersburg and camps there most times and digs through mud up to the waist of her body, looking for bodies. Along with the bodies, they found bags with grenades, TNT, among other items. Aria Uplokoviev is one of the most experienced volunteers and a former army officer. He found his first soldier 3 decades before when he crossed the swamp and found the soldier's boot sticking out of the mud. He found a Soviet helmet, then the entire body when he went deeper. There could be thousands of soldiers in that forest waiting to be returned home. Number 7. Swamp gas explosions. Most of us avoid swamps because of the mosquitoes, or the crocodiles, or the mud. The other reason we should avoid them is the possible gas explosions. In November 2010, an explosion killed 7 people in a hotel in Mexico. 12 others were badly injured. Turned out there was a mixture of gases from a nearby swamp that had been building up under a dozen buildings, forming the 676 rooms in the Grand Riviera Princess Hotel. The explosion was massive and nothing like you'd expect from a swamp explosion. All the glass in the restaurant was blown up. Part of the hotel was on fire and smoke could be seen from one of the premium lounges.
A lot of damage,
The force of the explosion also created a 3-foot deep crater, and the roof and ceiling dropped from a 165-foot height. Investigation revealed that organic gases from decomposing materials in the subsoil had caused havoc. Next time you book for accommodation,
I could have never imagined that would happen.
the nearest swamp is. Number 6.
That's crazy,
a T-34 tank. The last thing you'd expect to find in a swamp is a tank. Stranger things have happened. A World War II era T-34 tank was pulled from a swamp after sitting there for 6 decades. It, however, gets more interesting. The T-34 tank was a Russian tank that had been painted in German colours. The Germans had captured the tank, repainted it, and used it as if it was theirs before abandoning it. The T-34 was a favourite during the war, and different versions of it were made for the war and more were lost on the battlefield. This one was driven into the lake to avoid it being taken by the Soviet army. It settled in water that was 12 feet deep, with 6 feet of pit and silt covering it. After its discovery, volunteers spent about 2 weeks washing the murk from the vessel. It had 116 pieces of ammunition when it was pulled out. It was taken to a war museum, and its restoration was finished in 2007. Number 5. Algae sludge. The Bay of Saint-Bayou in northern France used to be a favourite for many holiday makers. Families came out in numbers, couples too. This was a little piece of paradise, and better still if you had a cabinet on stilts. All that has changed, and the first thing that meets you now is the smell of rotten eggs. Piles of algae populate the area and make the place completely out of bounds. The mayor of San Bayou had to close the beach at one point, and cabin owners could not enter their homes. One of them said they'd been visiting the area for 7 decades, and it was the first time they'd been barred from entering their cabin. The sludge of algae was considered toxic, making the soil unstable. Dozens of animals, among them dogs and horses, passed on. 3 humans also died from inhaling hydrogen peroxide. Number 4. Panther. If you see this in a swamp, you need to run as fast as your legs can.
Boy, that's one thing nobody ain't got to tell me. I see one of them, man, either 2 things. Running, or I'm shooting it, man. What? And that's real for all my animal lovers out there, man. Hey, I'm keeping it 100, man. If I see something like that, run or shoot. That's it, man. I'm just keeping it 100.
Carry you. In 2016, Tina Dorschel from Wisconsin was hiking on a boardwalk at a nature sanctuary in South Florida. She managed to capture footage of a Florida panther as it ran past her within the swamp sanctuary. She said the panther was scared and was not interested in her. Conservation biologist Luke Dollar notes that Tina acted appropriately and deviated from instinct to run away. Tina stood still and tall, which is the best recommended safety tip. She was probably scared, not trying to be brave.
Right on recording.
The numbers for these panthers are slowly recovering. During the 1970s and 80s, there were only a handful of Florida panthers because of habitat loss and hunting. Number 3. Abandoned automobiles. There are just a handful of things you'll find in swamps. One of the nicer things to see are abandoned cars. Mark Stock is a Floridian man and a historic preservationist who is passionate about the Everglades. He's always wanted to combine his love for the Everglades and fine art photography in a remarkable way with automobiles that have been left to waste away in the swamps. In 2017, he'd spent the previous year gathering sightings and rumors from hunters and environmentalists, as well as looking through satellite images to find these abandoned vehicles. He'd photographed abandoned airplane crashes, a VW bus, and a rusted car from the 1930s. Many times he's asked himself how the vehicles got there. There's, however, a lot that goes into capturing the photos. He has to travel through mosquito-infested swamps and come above the mud with his fancy camera to take the perfect shot. It's worth it when he can capture the photo of a 1937 Ford, a Chevy sedan, or a 1920-era tractor. Number 2. Mastodons. Mastodons were found in most lakes, not swamps, but still there's a connection, according to fossil remains found in Michigan in 1984. These distant cousins of elephants ate swamp plants and drank lake water. A young male mastodon was found in Clarkson Township in the late 1980s, when the tile was being laid on a field to improve drainage. Another was found in Ohio during the excavation process of filling in a pond at a golf course.
Man, that's to show you. Let me go ahead and stop right quick, man. That's to show you, man, that, man, underneath us, man, is a whole lot of mystery, man, that's, undiscovered for real, man. I don't know if y'all believe in dinosaurs. If y'all do, man, comment down below. Let me know if y'all believe that the dinosaurs really actually walked this earth, because I believe so. My Bible says it, you know what I'm saying? It even speaks on levitans and things like that. But, man, hey, man, we live in a world of mysteries, guys, man. We really do, man. Let me know, man, if y'all believe, man, dinosaurs walked this earth. You know what I'm saying? What's your take on it? Let me know.
Further study, lakes were an important water source for mastodons, and they used to graze in the sedge marshes surrounding them. Several mastodons have been recovered in the lake regions. Scientists believe that they lived 2.6 million years ago in the Pleistocene era and ended at the Ice Age about 11,700 years ago. The mastodon would have been a herbivore. This dietary fact sheds light on why they became extinct. Before moving to number 1, here is an interesting photo. This is courtesy of an anonymous fisherman. When you see this creature in a swamp, get out as fast as you can. He was out fishing in the area and this thing emerged and he quickly took a picture before getting out of there. What do you think this is? A giant spider, a sea monster, or a giant piece of wood? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Number 1. Underwater sinkholes. In 2020, a video was uploaded on social media showing clumps of reeds and water being sucked into 2 massive swirling underwater sinkholes. The caption on Facebook explains
All
that
of
it's a scary
mysteries, man.
sinkhole in Bomet County, Kenya, in a place called Darajasita. It caught the eyes of 750,000 people. This is known as internal erosion, caused by limestone below the Earth's surface being dissolved by underground water. A Bomet County government spokesperson, Kipyegon Chirchir, explained what it was in more elaborate terms. He explained that there was a submerged box culvert on the tarmac and the reeds were being consumed because of that box culvert. It was a swampy place and people imagined that water and reeds were being consumed underground, while in a real sense it happens after long periods of rain, and no one, thankfully, was injured. Do you have a swamp nearby you? Do you think?
Well, guys, like I often say, they just turned off the light on us, man. Man, let me know, man, if you guys found this video interesting, you know what I'm saying? If you guys, learned something from it, you know what I'm saying? Because, hey, it opened my eyes, But like I already knew these things, not all, some of these things already, because we live in a world of mystery, you know what I'm saying? A lot of things have gone undiscovered yet, you know what I'm saying? Yet to be discovered as well. So, hey, man, let me know, man. If there's anything that, that you guys would want me to go ahead and react to, go ahead and leave it down in the comments. You know what I'm saying? If you found this video, interesting to you guys, man, let me know, man. Give it a like one more time for your boy, man. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to go ahead and leave you guys with peace, love, and God bless. Love you guys, man.